Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to Breakfast with Ben. It is Thursday, which means we are talking business over breakfast. And today I am very excited to introduce everybody here in Westerly to my guest. Although some people may know him, we met him in a BNI group, which is a wonderful networking organization that we are happy to be a part of here at 321 Media. And my business partner, Patrick, here at 321, could not stop talking about how much he enjoyed this guy, so much so that we are hopefully going to be launching his own podcast pretty soon, and we will be airing that on this network. So I would like to, without further ado, introduce you to South County, Washington County based lawyer, James Howe. James, how are you?
Well, not bad, Ben. How are you?
Good. Now, do people say, James, how are you, a lot as
All
a
the
joke?
time.
Because people say, "Hey Ben, how you been?" to
Okay.
me.
Well, I'll tell you two things. One, my last name is Howe, right?
Yep.
4 letters. And one would think, well, that's simple enough. So from when I was very young, I would get Howie, Howard, Howell. Of course, those of us of a certain vintage who remember Gilligan's Island and Thurston Howell being one of the characters will recall that. And that was so I would hear that from when I was a young kid. And as a young kid, I can remember vividly really disliking my last name because of that. But of course, as a kid, you grow up, and then I began to realize how convenient it was because it is only those 4 letters, Howe. So, do I get it? Yes. And does it bother me the way it used to? Not as much.
Hey Ben, how you been doesn't bother me as much either.
Yeah.
And I like having, so my last name is Barber, and people ask me how to spell it all the time, like on the phone or if they're taking my information, and I usually say like a haircut. Like it's barber, it's the way you spell barber.
Right.
And But I remember one kid, there was another kid that was not related to me in first grade. Actually, we went to school together for a long time. His last name was also Barber, and I remember this kid came up to us in first grade and he thought that this was a real great dig, and he was like, "Are you guys sons of barbers?" And we were like, "What?" And it just never, like, the last name thing never bothered me. The first name, "Hey Ben, how you been?" For some reason, people can't understand my first name all the time because it's simple and one syllable and stuff. So like,
Right.
if I'm calling and ordering something, and I say it's for Ben, they'll be like, "Steve?" I'm like, "How did you hear that? I don't understand." But so I usually just accept whatever they do, or I'll use my friend's name or something for for a phone call. But that being said, you have been a lawyer for a very long time,
I have
and
been.
you have been practicing here in Washington County for a really long time. Started your career up in Providence, I believe. Is
I
that
did.
correct?
Yeah, I actually started my career in the early 80s. I just am proud to say that on May 30th past, just last week, I celebrated my 42nd year after being sworn in. I was sworn into the bar for the state of Rhode Island on May 30th of 1982. So I was actually sitting in court working with a colleague on a case, and there was a number of cases before us, and it just dawned on me, and it hit me, and I just turned to him, and he's a good bit younger than I am, and he got the biggest kick out of it. It's been a rewarding career. It's been a career where I've been able to help a lot of people. For 28 years, my office was in Providence. And for the last 14 years, it's been here in Wakefield, where right now I'm at 336 Main Street in Wakefield. Beautiful old building. And I've represented a lot of everyday Rhode Islanders. And that's a big reason why I look forward to doing this with you, Ben, is to have a kind of a unique way of sort of speaking to people directly. I say it all the time. I've represented underdogs for my entire career. People injured in car accidents, people injured as a result of negligent upkeep of premises, people who've been injured as a result of victim of crimes. So I've represented the underdogs, and by underdogs I mean they don't always realize that they are, but they're usually going against their claims are going against those of insurance carriers who have deep pockets, the ability to hire top quality lawyers, and you kind of go into it knowing you've got an uphill battle, and that's been something that's been pretty rewarding for me for all these years.
Yeah. And it's nice when you like you're obviously your job as a lawyer is to help these people, and you can sort of be on either side of that as a lawyer, right? You can be the
Sure.
lawyer for the big corporations,
Hmm.
for the and everybody knows the story of that, right? And how lucrative that is
Of course.
for those people, win or lose. And there's something we really like working with people that care about the community and care about the people that they work with and work for. And so the way that you help the underdog, and that's your go to, and that's who you're looking for when you're looking at taking a case, I think that speaks a lot of that speaks volumes to your character. What made you want to get into law?
It's a great question. Thank you. I grew up in a family business. My parents ran a jewelry store in Providence and North Providence. So I was, grew up the oldest son, and there was this idea that I would follow in the business, which looked like that would have been a real possibility, or maybe some other things. But for me, it was the mid to late 1970s when I was in college, and Watergate was going on. One of the most cataclysmic periods in American political history. And I can remember being towards my senior year in high school and early in college. There were hearings, televised hearings, about the controversy surrounding President Nixon's presidency. And when you'd watch those or even see a clip of them on the evening news, the lawyers were always sort of front and center, either as the politicians themselves may have been lawyers, but they always were working very closely with lawyers. And that impressed me. A few years went by. I was in college, and like many of us do, right, you start thinking of what's going to happen when this is over. For me, it was going into my third year in college. I can remember thinking, boy, the first 2 years went by pretty quickly. I was at Providence College. And then I began to focus a bit on, that summer is when I thought maybe trying to go to law school would be something in my future. Worked on some classes that would, kind of help me in that regard. And then fortunately, I was accepted as I got out of Providence College, and I actually went to the West Coast at Southwestern University, where I got my 3-year degree. After 3 years, got my degree, my law degree. And then, as a lot of Rhode Islanders do, right, I came home, and it was something that I had thought about as I was going through school. The idea that I'd be able to practice law in Rhode Island, and a few of the courthouses. If you've ever been to the Providence County Courthouse, you'd see what I mean. It's an incredible building, and it always held kind of a special meaning to me. My uncle was the superintendent, so I remember going there as a kid and visiting him, and it was a pretty cool place. So I got out of law school, came home, took the bar, and as I said, May 30th of 1982 was sworn in, and I think I went to work the next day. So
Wow. And I feel like we all come home, right? Rhode Islanders have a knack for I've always thought that we were kind of in a Goldilocks situation here. Um, when you look at like natural disasters, hurricanes aren't, knock on wood, generally too bad here. We've gotten a couple tornadoes in the last several years, but nothing real bad. The summers aren't too hot. The winters aren't too cold. It's a we if we get an earthquake, it's barely a rumble.
yep, that's a very
Um,
good point you make.
and we also have, and that's just the natural disaster side of things, right? And then you look at it, and Rhode Island is a little bit like one big small town, and it's also 39 communities. And each of these communities have like beautiful arts organizations and communities inside of them. And we have cities, we have beaches, we have wonderful rural areas. You and I were talking before the start of this how in Washington County you kind of have you kind of have Wakefield, the Wakefield Narragansett area as a hub. over by URI, and then you have Westerly, and in between it's just all green
Very true.
and beautiful. And that's where I'm from. I'm originally from Richmond, um, and like I went to my business, my other my creative partner Dave and we went to school in New York City for acting, and we both decided to come home and practice what we love here and continue our theater company that we had and stuff. There's something magical about coming back to Rhode Island.
This, obviously we're Rhode Islanders and we love it, right?
Yeah.
We're also the first. We also have this. We feel this birthright as Rhode Islanders that we can really complain about it too at the same time. And I will. Anyone who knows me will tell you that I'm want to make my opinions known. However, I agree with you. I think Rhode Island is a bit of an enclave here. There's a bit of a. I always think that I've thought many times about why is it that, granted, we do have some quote unquote natural disasters, but not really that bad, thankfully.
Yeah.
We don't have mudslides. We don't have forest fires. These type of things. We had a fire in Exeter last year, which was something, and it was news for weeks,
Yep.
And what we learned there, I learned, was how prepared the Exeter firefighters were to put that fire out. That was extremely impressive to me. But putting it in another way, and maybe a bit, I don't know, mystical or spiritual, if you will, I think the Bay, I think the Atlantic Ocean in Narragansett Bay, which has such an effect on our environment, is our environment. I've long thought that might have some, again, without getting too mystical, and I'm not particularly knowledgeable in that area, but I think that has something to do with it. And then if you look back at the original, the original settlers here, the original people who lived here, the Native American people, and the respect that they had for it. So as I've thought about it, and what is it that makes it special? Well, there's a lot of things that make it special. We know that. What is it that makes it infuriating? We all know that too.
Yes.
But I've been here and decided to make my career here. I have one son. He was raised here, and he still lives here. So that's all positive, and it was a big draw for me to come back home.
Yeah.
That and wanting to work in the Providence County Courthouse. That was another thing that really was in my mind when I was making that decision.
Ironically, right before I moved to New York City, we made a short film here in Westerly, and the town allowed us. It's literally right through my window. I can see it. The municipal courtroom.
Oh, it's fantastic
in Westerly.
It's tremendous.
It looks. We were doing a live stage production of 12 Angry Men. It was the first ever show that I directed. I was 17 years old, and we wanted to do a multimedia element to the production. So we started the show with a short film of the courtroom scene, and they allowed us to use the municipal court, and it's so gorgeous. It looked straight out of the 50s.
It looked straight out of the 50s, maybe even a little older.
Yeah. Looked appropriate for the 50s.
Absolutely. As a quick aside, one of my favorite films ever made, 12 Angry Men. And that's really impressive to think you did that at that age, and you directed a production of that at that age.
Well, thank you. It was.
You're welcome. It's not an easy one.
It's not. I loved it.
One,
I was. I also had to play juror number 12 in that.
Oh, you did?
Which was very funny at the time, because I was like, it was not that guy. And juror number 12 is the advertising executive.
Sure.
And now I own a marketing company for the last. Basically,
he has the great line about running up the flagpole.
See if anybody salutes.
Yeah, see if anyone salutes. That's it. Right.
Throw it out on the porch. See if the dog licks it up.
Yeah, right.
Tons of.
Yeah, that was one-liners.
That was basically just all he did, and that's why I was like, I'll take that role if I have to be in it, because it was hard to find 12 guys. I was like, if I have to be in it, I'll take that line, and
that's tremendous. That's really very, very. That's really noteworthy. I had one experience as a thespian in junior high, actually. And interestingly enough, my son is a musician and so performs regularly in front of a lot of people. And I only did it that one time. And but one of those things that you did when I was in 8th grade, so however old I was. But I can remember many of the many of the things we did. I can remember lines from the show that we did, the music that we did. So as I've gotten older, I've grown to appreciate much more, that aspect of the creative arts, acting and,
Yeah.
and production and direction. It's all pretty interesting to me now.
Um, one of the I wanted to be when I was a very young kid. Um, I I always said that I either wanted to be a teacher or a lawyer or an actor, and my dad was like, "I think you just like talking. I think you just like to hear yourself talk." And so now my job is to talk for a living,
There
and
you are.
it makes sense, I guess. So let's talk a little bit about the nuts and bolts of what you do and how you help people with, for example, auto insurance claim, like auto accidents
Oh,
and premises accidents and stuff like that, premises liability.
sure. Well, almost everything starts with the same thing. Something unfortunate happens to a good person, and it's, you're sitting at a red light and you get rear-ended, or you're driving home at night and someone is maybe has been overserved and intoxicated, and there's an accident that's caused. So the first thing that happens for me is at some point I receive a phone call, usually from that person, a family member, or oftentimes a former client, I should say, not ex-client, but a former client who has spoken highly of me to people and hears about it because it's his uncle, it's his cousin, it's his brother. So with that said, I'll receive that phone call. When I do that, the first thing I do is get every bit of information I can in that phone call. And if we can set up a meeting with the client right away, which we always try to do, we will do that. If it's a case where, because of the nature of an injury, it's easier for me to go to them, I do that. The next step really is to gather information as quickly as possible. I've been doing it a long time, and I remember when it was, the old days of, hey, we got to have. I always will go to a scene where something happened, but now I can see that scene. Sometimes right in while I'm having the phone call with the person that's telling me what happened to them 3 days ago. I can bring it up on Google Earth and say, okay, I can see that red light. I can see that stop sign, or I can see that shrub that's in the way of the stop sign, what have you. But we then always, again, Rhode Island being the size that it is, we can get from Westerly to Woonsocket in about an hour. So we'll get out there. I work with my paralegal. I'm very hands-on, get a lot of hands-on things that go with it. As far as the scene, as far as what happened, making contact with police departments, state or local, is the next step. Getting copies of statements that have been made, reports that have been filed. Once that happens, then we determine the liable parties, whether they are insured. Most of the time they are. Rhode Island has mandatory auto insurance. So when that happens, it's uncommon if there's no insurance. And then you begin that process of dealing with an insurance company on behalf of your client. And what we do then is it's sort of a management that goes on where we're getting in your medical records and your medical bills. We're keeping a file of those, electronic file of those, and we're dealing with an insurance company so that we can, maintain that communication. We determine things like what the policy limits are. We determine whether your insurance policy on your vehicle could also assist you. And but at the end of the day, what we're looking to do is make sure that for the injuries that a person sustains, that there is a fund of money that can do things like, take care of wages that are lost, any other financial realities that accrue is associated with that, what the pain and suffering a person goes through. So we're looking always with this idea of what are the damages? What are the damages going to be? And how do we prove those damages? So that goes through the process. Rhode Island has a 3-year statute of limitations, which means you have 3 years from the time something happens to file a lawsuit. Sometimes you file those lawsuits quickly. Sometimes it take a while too. And there are different ways that cases resolve. Sometimes it's myself dealing with an insurance representative and we try to settle the case. Oftentimes now, in the last 20 to 25 years, we use a device known as mediation, where a third party mediator, an attorney with experience in this area of the law, is presented both sides of a story and works to bring these parties together to resolve their case. If that is unsuccessful, and that can happen at any time, it can happen multiple times, then you go to the litigation and the potential trial of a case, all of which I do. Every step in that spectrum, I handle.
It's funny, like any time somebody calls you for one of these situations, it's one of the most difficult moments of their life. And I think that it takes a you want somebody on the other end of the phone that is compassionate, that is knowledgeable, obviously, of what your rights are, what your situation is, and what you are going to be up against. But first and foremost, you want somebody that it's scary, right? So if you're somebody who's just had one of these unfortunate things happen to you, it's scary. I remember um in 2018, I think, I got into a car accident here in Westerly. Uh the first real one that I ever and only real one that I've ever been in. I was pulling out on a road and a red light was turning red and a truck ran through the red light and I had the right of way, and they hit me on the side of the car, right on my driver's side. Um, and when I talked to the insurance company and the police about it, or not, when I talked to the police had, whatever happened there. But when I talked to the insurance company about it, literally later that day, when I was no longer at the scene, they were asking me questions about the scene and if there were any landmarks or anything, right? And I'm trying to think back, and I'm scared. I'm scared that I'm in trouble for some reason.
Sure.
I'm scared that, myself or my mom are injured. Not neither of us were, thankfully. I'm worried about my car. I'm worried about my insurance rate going up. I'm worried about everything. And they're asking me, what do you remember? And um and I was like, and all I could remember was that when I was outside of the car, standing there, uh, waiting for someone to come pick me up, that there was a fire hydrant next to me. So when they asked me, like, what explain the intersection, I was like, I was next to a fire hydrant, right? But what happened was I walked maybe 300 feet away from the car, and I was standing next to a fire hydrant. But because I said that there was a fire hydrant where the accident took place, they wrote that down, and then later, when someone else called me to determine fault, they were like, "Well, we've determined that if you were next to the fire hydrant, that you were 100 feet from the intersection." And I was like, "No, no, no, wait. That's not what
Sure.
you know." And it wasn't anything where I was taking legal action. Like
Mhm.
the car, it was a negligible amount of money and all of that stuff. So, but those moments in your life when catastrophic things happen or big moments happen that are going to those take a toll on you. They take a toll on it, and that's sometimes why you need up to 3 years to file a lawsuit. Takes a lot of time to think about these things, to process the information, to go through that, to understand what your legal rights are in a situation, to get a clear picture. Like, this is a difficult time in someone's life anytime they need to call you.
You're absolutely right, Ben. You're absolutely right. A few points I would make. I would say at least 9 out of 10 clients will say to me, "That's not an exaggeration. Maybe, yeah, 9 out of 10. I've never done this before. I've never been in a car accident. I've never had an insurance claim. I don't want to sue anybody, um, et cetera, et cetera." And then the second part of it is what you just described, which is, well, I've spoken to the insurance company, and I got a call from that insurance adjuster, and they were saying things that I hadn't said to them, et cetera. That's why I think it's so important that what you do in this situation, whether you call a lawyer right away or not, is really not it. But be very circumspect, be very careful, be very cautious if you have any conversations with an insurance carrier before you've talked to a lawyer. One of the first things I'll say to people once we decide that, okay, I'll represent you, is from here on out, you don't have to talk to anybody except me.
Right.
And at some point, you might have to give a deposition in a lawsuit, but that would be down the road. But between here and there, you don't talk to anybody but me about it. You'll give your medical provider some information, certainly, but the idea of dealing with your legal rights and the remedies available to you, that's where I come in, and that's why oftentimes I'll say, I'm pleased when someone has called me, within a few days. I've received 100 calls from people still in a hospital bed,
Yeah.
going, okay, I'm feeling better now. I wanted to talk to you. Okay, fine. We'll come up to see you or what have you. But at the end of the day, yeah, you are under tremendous stress. Well, how many times has it happened where there was no collision?
Yep.
There was just that thing that happened. You're
Yep.
driving through an intersection, person takes a left, and then they stop, and you stop. Your heart is in your throat. Now you add to it the fact that you've actually had a collision. So oftentimes people do make those kind of mistakes, but that's where an experienced lawyer can help you out. That's where I can help you out.
There was another the one other situation that I've been in was I was parked downtown. I had just parked downtown, and a flow of traffic was coming from behind me. And I was looking in my rearview mirror to see when I could open my door to get out, right? And a big food delivery truck, a big 18-wheeler, was coming down, and those things barely fit in that, on that one part of the lane of the road. And they, so the truck that was passing behind me was going at a speed that I should have been able to open my door right after they passed. But the food delivery truck stopped short and went into the lane. So the truck that was passing me stopped short and swerved over to the right. But the food delivery truck never hit anybody, never touched anybody. I opened my door as I would normally do, and it shouldn't have been an issue. But because the truck was over closer to me, my door hit the back of their car. And I was like, when I was talking to the insurer, I was like, I don't even understand how to explain this, right? Like, and sure, it's like they were like, well, you can't do anything about the food delivery truck because they didn't hit anybody, they didn't touch anybody, and I'm like, but this is how is it? So it's just that thing that happened, right?
Sure.
Like you said, like it's not even an accident; it's just that thing that happened, and it's kind of nuts how like these things happen all the time, or they almost happen all the time.
Almost happen all the time.
They almost
No
happen all the
question.
time,
Sure.
and then when it actually does happen, and when it actually is something, that's going to affect your life, it's like it happens in a second, and you don't know what to do.
That's exactly true. Your heart is racing, your adrenaline is flowing. You're in a world that you've never been in before, and you're asked questions oftentimes, even by the police, where you want to help yourself. Even by the police, you're under the stress of it. It's interesting. I think when a police officer comes to the scene, they almost can always tell who's at fault. They can and the person who is at fault, the questioning of that person is usually a bit different than the questioning of the person who's clearly not at fault. But either way, I mean, most people go their whole lives, they have no more interaction with a police officer than, go ahead, you can cross the street. Most people don't have those kind of interactions. And if they have an interaction with a police officer, that is incredibly stressful, even though the police officer is there to help them.
Yep.
That's incredibly stressful. So that's a big reason that's what I do. That's why I say I represent underdogs, the people who are the ones who've been victimized.
Yep.
And we do the best we can to, we can't unring the bell, which is a phrase you hear in the law quite a bit. We can't unring the bell, but we can make the fact that it's rung in a certain way as good as it can be. And that's really what I try to do every day. And, it's interesting. I'm a little bit older now as a lawyer, and I know a number of lawyers that are older than I, but many, many more younger. But it's a career. I was just saying this. I was in court yesterday and saw a judge I've known for years, and I said that to him. I don't roof houses and I don't dig trenches. Admire everyone who does. I'm not a plumber or a carpenter. So as long as my mind works okay and I can drag myself to work every morning, I can keep doing this. And I get a lot of satisfaction from it, quite honestly.
Yeah, I can tell.
Thank
And
you.
and when you help people for a living, that's something that you get a lot of satisfaction out of. That's something that you can, hang your head at the end of the night and be proud. Not hang your head, hang your hat at the end of the night
Uh,
and be proud of. And
it's true. Oftentimes I might just get a phone call from someone, especially older clients, who will call me and just ask me a question. And your malpractice insurer is always saying, be very careful because that could be considered, legal advice that someone would act on. Thankfully, that's never been a problem for me. But what I've been able to do is just sometimes in a 4 or 5 minute conversation, give someone a little bit of either direct knowledge or more some insight into something that they're facing. And I know they appreciate it, and I appreciate being able to do it. So it's what I do. It's what I'll continue to do until someone tells me I shouldn't do it anymore.
yeah,
Or until I feel I shouldn't. But it's
absolutely.
a lot of fun every day. It really is, and we've got a lot of good lawyers in the state of Rhode Island. A lot of good judges, a lot of good police officers in this state. Really are. I've seen across a wide range for many, many years, and I've also practiced law in a few other states at different times, certain cases. So I've always been proud of the fact of being a member of the Rhode Island Bar. It's the only bar I'm a member of. I practiced in Mass. I practiced in Connecticut with other lawyers who are from there. But um, it's been pretty good, and it continues to be good. So I'm one of those promoters for the system in the state that I think the judges who go to work every day are always trying to, and the lawyers and everyone involved is always just trying to get it right.
Yep,
Trying to get it right. We're human. It's not always right, but we try, and that I think is a good thing.
it's a great thing. We have a large following, obviously, here in Westerly and Cherahoe. You know, um, and into South County, South Kingstown and Wakefield
Mhm.
and stuff. What's your favorite part about this area of the state and this part of the world?
Oh, it's just being down here. I'm a beach guy. I'm a water guy. I like to play golf too, but in my spare time, I like to be on the water. So I live in South Kingstown over by Point Judith Pond. So I get a lot of time down there. So my favorite part is probably the water and the access to it. Um, Having grown up in Providence, which I did, I went to school in Providence, all of that. I enjoy the differences between both places. So my oldest friends on earth are I call them Providence guys. I mean, it's just the truth. But my move down here was in the early '80s, not long after I started working, and the idea of living anywhere else in the state of Rhode Island, no, I never would.
Yeah,
I spend time in Providence. I enjoy that. I enjoy that part of the state quite a bit. So that's sort of it. I feel like I've become a part of this community. I have served in a few different capacities in my career on boards and committees. I also sit as the probate court judge in the town of South Kingstown, which is a really interesting thing for me where I sit one day a month as the probate court judge in South Kingstown, which is just a fantastic opportunity to do some public service.
yep.
So I see a lot of different people come across that courtroom that one day a month. So yeah, but I feel a very strong Rhode Island connection, being a strong Rhode Island. I'm sorry, a strong member of this community, which is South County. That's why I like it down. And I like it down here in Westerly too. I have to tell you, I spent a lot of time down here.
My family lawyer, that handled the probate situation for my parents' house was a former probate judge in Exeter. And that was it was nice to go through probate with somebody who had been on both sides on both sides of that.
I'm sure it was. That's never an easy thing. You know, the idea of probate, someone is passed, etc. And again, you spend time, you know, have a lawyer who's had that kind of experience as a judge. Yeah, it has to help.
Yeah.
You know.
It's one of the things that I just want to say to everybody is sometimes the idea of calling a lawyer is incredibly scary in and of itself. And I'm gonna say that I'm gonna keep the camera on me while I say this because these are my words. Sometimes the idea of calling a lawyer is scary. It definitely has been scary in my mind. The thought of calling a lawyer, you know, for any reason whatsoever, and they're here to help you, especially when you find good people like James, like good people first who are great lawyers. Um that is the key. And when you've gone through, whether it's something like you're going through probate, or whether it's something like you've been in an auto accident, or you have some sort of you've gotten hurt on a property, or any of these things, uh you need help, and you can't do it yourself, and there's no reason to be afraid because you're literally just talking to someone that can help you. And if you call the right people, like if you call James, he's going to tell you how he can help you, and give you the facts, and walk you through it. And it's nice to have someone on the other end of the phone that actually cares about you and cares about the situation. And it doesn't you're already dealing with an overwhelming moment, and a moment that can be pretty fearful. Lawyers are here to help, and especially when they're good people like James.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate those kind words, and it's very true. You know, I think a lot of times people do say that. Gee, it's taken me a while to call. I dreaded calling a lawyer, etc. And that's because something unfortunate has happened. But I think if you keep in mind that um, as important as your physical health might be, say you've been injured in a car accident, your legal health is of equal import. So if you, and most people would have no hesitation about saying, geez, I'm going to an emergency room, or I'm following up with my own doctor. The same thought should be when you think about calling a lawyer. Find someone with some experience, which I have, and make that first phone call. There's no fee associated with it. If you do hire me, you don't pay me anything. That I work on percentages of money that's recovered. So the classic term, nothing ventured, nothing gained, I think is particularly applicable when you're talking about you've been in a car accident. It's not going to cost me anything to call this Jim Howe. It's not going to cost me anything to listen to him. Not going to cost me anything to go see him in his office. However, in the long run, yeah, you're going to look back on it and think it was a good call that you made.
Yeah.
So it's something I look forward to. And if your listeners are of a mind, I'm available. I am in Wakefield, Rhode Island, as I said. My phone number is 401-788-0600. From downtown Wesley to downtown Wakefield is about a 25-minute ride.
Yep.
So we're there. I live very close to my office. So it's even if someone calls me and I'm not there, I can say I can meet you in 15 minutes. So
Yep.
It's one of those things. And I really appreciate your time here, Ben.
Well, thank you so much.
Ton of fun.
I appreciate you coming down and being on the show, and it's wonderful, and you are full of valuable information. So we are going to create this and make a little series here with Jim Howe, and we are going to have that in the near future. So there's a little dipping your toe into the water situation. I hope you found it nice and comfortable.
It's absolutely comfortable. Great studio. You're a wonderful host, and I look forward to doing a few more segments on either this show or my own podcast. I'm looking forward to working with you and Patrick.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for being here today. And check out 321westerly.com for all sorts of updates on things that are happening this summer. And we'll be back with more Breakfast with Ben tomorrow. Thank you so much. Bye for now. Experience local excellence with Roof Right Roofing in Charlestown, Rhode Island. With over 40 years of unmatched expertise, Roof Right specializes in architectural shingles and holds the prestigious title of GAF Master Elite Installers. Known for their commitment to the community and support for local initiatives, Roof Right is your trusted partner for all of your home's roofing needs. Call today for a free estimate at 401-212-4140.
Hi, this is Dan from Lathrop Insurance. In this challenging insurance environment, Lathrop Insurance can be your beacon in the storm to help you find the coverage you need at the right price. Now, more than ever, you need a partner in the insurance industry that can work with multiple carriers to make sure you have the right coverage at the right price. Lathrop Insurance carries home, auto, and business insurance and can be reached at 401-596-2525. We've been supporting the local community since 1939, and we look forward to working with you.
Ever thought about leveling up your fitness game in a fun and meaningful way? Kiefer's Martial Arts on Granite Street has everything you're looking for. Kickboxing, Muay Thai, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and of course, adult karate. It's not just about getting fit, it's about building your self-confidence, discipline, and that unstoppable feeling you get from all your hard work. Stop into Kiefer's Martial Arts today to sign up.
Are you looking for a fresh cut in Westerly? Step into Rio's Barber Shop in Granite Plaza. Whether it's a classic trim or a trendy new look, we've got you covered. Experience the perfect cut for every age and style in a friendly and relaxed atmosphere. At Rio's, it's not just a haircut, it's an experience. Visit Rio's Barber Shop in the Granite Plaza in Westerly or give us a call to schedule your appointment at 401-315-2208. Your style, our craft, Rio's Barber Shop.
Hot summers and cold winters can be unbearable, but D&V Mechanical has the solution for you. As a Mitsubishi Diamond dealer, we provide energy-efficient and personalized comfort solutions for your home. Our experienced technicians will install your new system quickly and efficiently, ensuring your complete satisfaction. Don't suffer through another season of discomfort. Contact D&V Mechanical today for a personalized ductless mini-split installation that fits your lifestyle. D&V Mechanical, your comfort is our top priority.
What's going on, Westerly? It's Patrick down here at the Wireless Zone at Dunn's Corners, Verizon Authorized Retailer. And right now is the best time to come on in and get a brand new phone. We are offering our hottest new 5G phones, the iPhone 15, the S24 Pixel 8 for free with a trade-in. And the best part is 5G is finally coming down here to Westerly and the surrounding areas. So make sure you're on the best network and get it for free when you're on the right plan. Come see us at 224 Post Road.
The Thirsty Beaver Hometown Pub and Grub in Dunn's Corners is your ultimate destination for refreshing drinks, delectable dishes, and memorable moments with family and friends. Enjoy live music, DJ trivia every Wednesday night, and we're now the official spot to come watch and root for your favorite Westerly High School sports teams. The Thirsty Beaver, located at 265 Post Road, Spindrift Village, Westerly.
Hey guys, Paul at Surf Cantina. I'm hanging out in our game room, which is available for rent. We are currently booking our graduation parties. Feel free to reach out. We'd be happy to get you started.